Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, we start with the approval of the regular session agenda. Mr. Chairman, I recommend we accept it as written for approval.
Make a motion.
Second. I'll vote for. I'll vote for. At this time, we'll have our invocation led by Mr. John Jones from the Autumn Ridge Community Church.
Bow your heads and you guys pray with me. Gracious God, you are indeed the giver of all good gifts. We thank you today for all your blessings, for the successful outcomes of our school events, for our education system, for all staff members, both teaching and support members. We ask that you would bless this room abundantly for the efforts that go into these meetings. Pray that you would give wisdom, guidance, courage, strength with any deliberations, decisions made. Help them to make wise decisions for the good of all those who place their trust and confidence in this leadership. I ask you to give insight to lead with integrity, that decisions may reflect what is right and good. Pray that glory would be to you, our loving God, now and always, through Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated. Mr. Chairman, at this time I've asked Mr. Paul Standard, our athletic director, to come and give us a quick presentation regarding our wrestling issue that we had from last week. So, Coach Standard, if you would please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Ridley. Thank you to our board for allowing me a few minutes to speak. I believe y'all all had the opportunity to look at the video that unfortunately the Georgia High School Association will not allow they won't look at. Our young men under Coach Badpour did a great job last Saturday up at Stevens County. We obviously had an issue where there was an erroneous score awarded to Wright High School. To all of our efforts to no avail, we could not convince Georgia High School to take a look at those video, audio, or visual evidence that we presented, because that is not part of the bylaws of Georgia High School at this time. It's also not part of the National Federation rules as well. So whether they looked at that video or not, I have no idea. But Don Core, the representative from the GHSA, did send back his findings that Dr. Ridley had his copy on as well. Said that unfortunately they could not look at that, and because the mistake was not discussed or protested in the right time period, then they could not go back and correct the score. So we all know in this room that our young men deserve the opportunity to continue in that match. Unfortunately, that did not happen, and I'm sorry that I was not able to change their mind. As I've told Dr. Ridley, Mr. Berry, and Mrs. Foley, that I am going to present a proposal to the Georgia High School, whether it goes anywhere or not, for us to maybe change that rule in our state to allow for audio or video or audio evidence if there's an appeal or a conflict in a contest. And whether that goes anywhere or not, I don't know, but I do want our community to know that our young men did a great job, and they got an opportunity to still win a state championship in the individual matches. So, is there any questions or?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
How do you win a deal? I mean, what can you,
That's a great, well, in this particular instance, if that mistake had been protested at the right time, which unfortunately, in their opinion, it was not, then that could have been corrected. I don't even know if it had been, because the referee felt like that he had the right score. If there is a error in application of a rule, that is a way of applying for a appeal. But, unfortunately, these types of situations is difficult, especially when you're on the side that feels like you've got the short end of the stick. And again, I'm sorry that happened, but we will certainly, I'm going to try to move forward with that. And without that process, maybe that will help not only us, but other folks down the line.
So your role with GHSA, you're going to be a region representative?
I will be our region representative to the Georgia High School next year in our new region.
Okay, so you'll have the opportunity to present.
Yeah, well, I can do that now through our current rep, but I'll be on that executive committee by being a region
I
rep.
think that would be better on the committee.
I hope so. I certainly hope so. As well as get on, I want to be put on the reclassification committee so we don't have the same situation that we had this year, I would hope. So, let's hope that happens. Thank y'all for your
What
time.
region we consider it, Randall 6? What region is 6?
We're in region 7.
Now?
Yes, sir, we are in
What
region.
about next?
We're back in region 7 again. The new schools, the schools are Westwind, the one private school from Norcross, Dawson, West Hall, Lumpkin, White, and Pickens. And then us, so pretty good region overall, I believe. So.
Coach, were you there to witness this mistake?
I was there for the first 2 rounds. I was not there, and I feel bad that I was not there for that. No, sir, I was not there. But
Yes.
video was pretty clear.
Yeah, it was very clear. I missed the first 2 rounds, but I was there for the finals.
The audio was even more clear,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
It was.
So,
well, I'd just like to say, I'd like to quote State Senator Jeff Mullis, say, GHSA's unwillingness to listen to concerns of schools is extremely troubling. So I hope you can make some progress there.
I'm gonna do my best, I can promise you that. Thank y'all.
At this time, we have 3 people signed up for public participation. Ms. Jennifer Wright, Mr. Nick Wright, and Mr. Noah Wright. You'll have 5 minutes for public participation. The board will not respond, won't take any action tonight, so at this time, you can go in whatever order you wish.
Don't start the clock
You
yet.
can get what, okay.
No, don't go yet. Hello, everyone. As Dr. Ridley said, my name is Jennifer Wright. I am a lifelong resident of Gilmer County and a very proud Bobcat. I do wear my purple and white about everywhere I go. And I am the current band booster president. And more importantly, I am the mom to 3 band members, which brings me to why I'm here tonight. I'm told I've got 5 minutes for public participation to speak, so that means I've got 5 minutes to challenge you guys to make a difference in the life of an 8th grade band student. For 13 years, a selected group of talented 8th graders has been chosen and asked to participate in the high school marching band. Oftentimes, but not always, it was a brother or sister of a high schooler, which makes sense because brothers and sisters are always hanging around the band field, so why not slap a uniform on them and put them on the band field and march? But the 8th graders who were asked to march were more advanced musically than their peers and needed to be challenged beyond the typical classroom setting. They were ready for more responsibility and eager for more than just twice-a-year concerts. To a good musician, constantly playing below his ability is boring. And a basketball coach once told me good players want to play. And I imagine the same is true for musicians. It's hard to keep kids motivated when they know they're constantly playing below their level. Then they talk about quitting. Because when they can't see the reason for working hard, no amount of pep talk makes a difference when they feel they are destined for better things. But being held back and are blind for the reasons. And our band is getting smaller. In 2 years, our numbers have dropped roughly 20%. I'm not solely blaming the absence of 8th graders, but I will argue that it's contributed to the decline. A few years ago, the county was generous enough to purchase 6 sousaphones for approximately $45,000. And this year, there were times that my son was the only sousaphone player on the field. Now, a few extra 8th grade tuba players would have come in handy, but instead, 5 beautiful sousaphones sat collecting dust in the band room. Letting a few 8th graders march is an excellent recruitment tool. It's a way to get 6th and 7th graders excited about the band. It gives them something to work toward. It also gives other 8th graders something to look forward to. The 8th graders who march share with their buddies how much fun they're having and how amazing Friday nights are. And their friends listen to them and see their smiling selfies plastered all over social media. It means much more to their band director, much more than their band director asking them to join marching band. Because as we all know, there's no pressure like peer pressure. But this is positive peer pressure. We don't want our 8th graders to quit before they get to high school, and a lot do because they fear the unknown. And too many studies have shown the many benefits to being involved in music class in school. Imagine for a second if these talented people would have quit their school band because they were bored and weren't being challenged. Oh, I didn't put my pictures in order, stop the clock. This 8th grader considered quitting because she wasn't getting challenged in school. But I'm glad she didn't, because she went on to get a full scholarship. Not this one. She went on to get a full scholarship and lead over 400 members of the $1 Million Band. Now this pleasant fella marched as an 8th grader. I'm pretty sure he turned out okay. Now let me be clear. Not allowing an 8th grader to march is not a statewide policy. And I want to clarify that organizations like the band and ag and drama and chorus do not fall under GHSA rules. There are no rules that prevent middle schoolers from competing with high schoolers in band competition. This no march policy is a rare board policy. Can you pass these down, please? Here is a copy of a District 7 and 9 band directors asking if their county allows 8th graders to march. Out of 20 surrounding counties, all of which are similar in size, we are the only county with a written policy against it. Now, I do not understand what led to the decision to buck tradition, but I'm fairly confident the decision wasn't made because the chosen 8th graders caused any trouble or didn't earn their spots. Remember, these kids were asked because they are mature, musically advanced, and their parents agreed it's a good idea. What matters now, I'll leave you with one quote then. Every child, every opportunity, every day. Thank you. I think Nick, you're next. Noah's next.
Noah's next.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Noah Wright. I play the bassoon in the 7th grade advanced band. I've qualified for the district band for 2 years in a row, and this year I was also chosen to participate in the University of Alabama's middle school honor band. In case you're not familiar with the bassoon, it is a part of the double reed family, but it was strictly for concerts, so I also learned to play the tenor saxophone in marching band. When my older brother started band in 9th grade, I was in the 5th grade. We went to every football game to watch him. I remember the first time he marched on the band with his uniforms on. I was so proud of him. Then in October, we watched our first band competition. I had no idea what to expect. I remember being so nervous and excited when the announcer kept calling out Gilmer County. That night, I watched our band get 11 trophies. All the kids were so happy. They were all hugging and jumping up and down, and then I knew I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to share a moment like that with my big brother. And I thought it was because I was going to be 8th grade and he was going to be a senior. So I planned to work really hard so Miss Kinsey would have no choice but to ask me to join the award-winning GHS band. This is one of the reasons I chose the hardest instruments to learn. I wanted to be the best. It is also the reason I am always on the band field, helping every chance I get. I'm always pushing the equipment and setting up after halftime. Since my brother has been in high school and I have been in band too, I have made some really good high school friends. They don't care that I'm younger or in middle school. We bond over music. They've always treated me with respect. All of them always are nice to me. Marching as an 8th grader would motivate me to stay in band because most days I'm bored in class. I know Miss Kinsey tries to make it interesting for all of us, but some of us are just more advanced, and it's not our fault. I guess it's why they offer honor classes to the smart kids and regular classes for the regular kids. I'm in the advanced classes, but even then I'm still looking for a challenge. It's just frustrating knowing that I want the spotlight, but I can't have it. When I get into high school, I want to be section leader and hopefully drum major one day. I know that in the past, kids who march as 8th graders often become section leaders of their instrument. They learn from the older kids, and the older kids help them mentor them. However, the most important reason I'm asking you to change the policy to allow a few selected 8th graders to participate in the marching band, as this will most likely be the only time in my life that I get to march on a football field with my big brother, and to me, that's no bigger honor. Members of the Board of Education, I challenge you to make a difference in my life and change the policy and allow me to march with the GHS band next year. I'll leave you with one quote to think about. Every child, every opportunity, every day. Thank you.
Now, Nick.
Hello, my name is Nick Wright, and I also play the student in 7th grade advanced band, and I've also qualified for district band in the last 2 years. I was also chosen to participate in the University of Alabama's honor band. I have also been playing piano for several years, and I'm learning percussion for the marching band. Like Noah, I wanted to be in the marching band since 5th grade, and that is also one reason I chose the bassoon, because I wanted to be the best, and I knew I had to be one of the best to be on the field as an 8th grader. I'm also helping all the time, and I've already made lots of high school friends. The drumline is like a family, and they've already treated me like one of their family members. I also get bored in advanced class, and most days it is hard to stay motivated. I don't want to quit, but there isn't much reason to stay either. I agree with my mom. Good musicians want to play, and I'm a good musician. I want to play, and I want to be seen. What Noah didn't tell you is that we both play travel baseball for East Cobb, and we both think it'd be pretty cool to show our friends at school that athletes can be band nerds and band nerds can be athletes. You can be both, and I can prove it. Noah and I are in ag at CCMS, and we have friends who compete and win a lot. When I told them about tonight, they told us one reason they are so successful is because of the high schoolers. The ag program for our school is not divided between middle school and high school. The middle school ag students ride the bus to GHS, where the high schoolers help them and they barn at the high schoolers help them and they barn at the middle school. In fact, they do everything together: field trips, shows, and contests. I feel the same as my middle school ag friends. I could learn a lot from the high school band kids. I could go from being a great musician to being an excellent one. I want to march with my older brother than them. I would consider it an honor. I want to motivate my friends not to quit band. I want to tell the younger kids how cool band is, so maybe if they're not playing football, they will join the band. Members of the board, if you deny our request to change the policy to allow 8th graders to march, please let it be for a good reason, because otherwise you will have an opportunity to make a difference in my life, my brother's life, and the lives of other talented 8th graders just by saying yes. I'll leave you with one quote. This opportunity today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dick. Thank you to Ms. Wright and those two very well spoken young men. This time we'll go on to the consent agenda. consent agenda, we have the minutes from the 12/13/21 work executive and 12/15/21 regular session. Also, we have the out-of-state overnight field trips. Mr. Chairman, I recommend that you approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion,
Make a motion.
second,
Second.
all vote for. All vote for.
Superintendent's report under parent and community engagement, we have the cannery report. So Mr. Butcher, can you come forward and give us an update on the cannery?
Well, I'd like to thank the board and Dr. Ridley for allowing me to come and talk about a different aspect of our ag program, but it is a vital part of our ag program. And thank you for supporting something that's a tremendous community engagement, and we have a lot of community support that's, I think, boosted by the ability for folks to be able to come to our cannery, which is by far the best cannery in the state of Georgia. And I know in the past I've talked about it, you know, after the Great Depression, nearly every county in the state of Georgia had a cannery. I think our cannery started sometime in the 30s, but I'm not 100% sure on that date. And as of this year, there's only 22 left. And in Northwest Georgia, we're by far the biggest. We have the most visits by folks and can more product than anybody in the area. And without your support, without you investing in the new cannery and the Ag Center, you know, that wouldn't be the case. I have a really quick presentation. I can work this thing. This just shows, I think this was a family from, I'm not sure, I can't, they're as good as they used to be. But it's just an example of you know, the amount of production that we do on certain days. Pretty sure they're just doing canned tomatoes right here, but you know, it happens a lot where a group of folks will come in with 15, 20 bushels of some type of produce. This kind of shows when it's actually cooking and when it's in the jar and ready to go home. So it's an incredible experience if you've never been in there. You know, when I go over the numbers in a minute, it's even more impressive. This is another group, the famous Waldo Martin. We got, after some health concerns, was back in the cannery this summer. If you've never met him before, you're missing out. He's quite a character. This other group was a group from Chattooga County that came in on a special day, and we did a class and actually taught them how to make applesauce. So just a couple examples of a typical day in the Gilmer County cannery. This is the bunch from Cherry Log. When they, for the Cherry Log Festival, they do a lot of apple butter that they make. And then the picture on the right is a more typical day when green beans and tomatoes are coming in. You know, we'll have sometimes 35 people in there, and on those real busy days, we might process 1,500 or more quarts of something. So it's a labor of love for a lot of people, and it's a great community service. And as a county, we should be very proud of what happens in there. It's incredible. Coming from growing up not knowing what a cannery is to 27, I guess, years dealing with one in a couple of different counties, I'm proud to be a part of it. And then these are the numbers. Very similar to last year, and actually we are up a little bit, which I'm kind of surprised of, because there was a shortage of apples a little bit in our county, as everybody knows. But the number of days in operation during the summer, and that's going to be from June until school starts, was 50. Number of days operated all year was 140, and that was from June to December 17th. And the total number of units canned, and that's either quarts or pints, was 18,516. Some type of unit that folks took home and are feeding their families, which I think is just a great thing. Units prepared for freezing, 432. Number of bushels shelled, we have a small pea sheller in there that a lot of folks still will come and actually use. The homegrown number has gone up a little bit. We figured about 89% of what came into the cannery was grown, maybe not strictly in Gilmer County, because Murray County, Pickens County doesn't have a cannery anymore. Fannin County, a lot of folks come down from Fannin County. Just anything that's touching Gilmer County, we get a lot of folks that come in and use it, so it's really cool. Pounds of meat processed, 0. We did a lot of stews, and not just straight up processing meat. And this next number is really impressive. With almost 2,000 people walked in the door at the cannery and used our facility. So, and that's not just adults. That's church groups. That's community members. That's students that are learning. If you want to talk about STEM, you're getting the full gamut when you're going through food science and that type of area at the cannery. And the number of students provided with food processing instruction was 163, which, we're in a day and age where canning is kind of a lost art with a lot of folks, so I think it's real important that we bring kids in there and show them what it's all about, and hopefully some of them will take an interest in it and continue to help keep the doors open. Again, thank you to the board and, Dr. Ridley for supporting us. You should have got a jar of apple butter that students at Gilmer County made, and I watched over them. I promise you it's good. They did the correct job in making it. And thank you once again for supporting the cannery and our ag program. Anybody have any questions?
I'd just like to say that before I came to Gilmer County, I didn't know schools had canneries, and it is an amazing facility. Still looking forward to getting out there on a day when you're in the midst of production, and I want to see the whole thing.
Absolutely.
It's a tremendous facility.
How long will it be before your orchards will be bare and fruit?
Last year they took care of all the blossoms on their own, but this year we'll pretty much take them all off again, and the following year we should actually be getting some apples.
How many trees do you have?
We have 90 apple trees, 7 different varieties. We have 10 peach trees, 2 different varieties, 2 varieties of nectarines, and 2 varieties of cherries. And they'll all be on a trellis system. They're all irrigated on drip irrigation, so we can fertilize them and make sure if we're in a drought, we can still keep them going. And it's the local orchards. It's RNA, it's Penland's, it's BJ Reese. I don't want to forget anybody, but it's all of the orchards because I know how to grow dairy cattle, and I dabbled in a lot of things growing up, but apple production is not one of them. It's been an absolute joy to work with those guys, and because right from the start, I was almost going to do something that would have really messed it up, and Andy Futch was there to correct me and make sure I did it correctly. So it's been a great learning experience for us, and very educational because we have a weather station out there. Like every single one of those varieties, there's amount of spit it out, Michael. Not cooling time. It's chill hours that they each have to have. And so we're looking at what we're reading on our weather station and what all those varieties are supposed to have for them to blossom in the springtime and production to take place. So it's not just all the hands-on stuff, but there's a lot of other stuff that we're able to do out there now. So.
Michael, do you see us doing any great vineyard type things out there?
I would love
Have
to.
any vineyards already?
The thing is, if we could get into table grapes, maybe, because unless I have a direct way to get rid of, grapes that are going to be used for wine, it's kind of tough for us to have a way of, yeah, that might be something I can't buy. But yeah, I'd also like to get some blueberries some raspberries and raised beds and stuff like that. And of course, at some point, working with Patricia and being able to maybe serve some of this stuff in our cafeteria down the road is, the ultimate goal. And having plenty of apples to make apple butter and whatever we want in the cannery. But thank you very much.
All right. This time we need to discuss reapportionment. Gentlemen, I spoke with the map guy, Brian Knight, at the state reapportionment office today. The map that we discussed at our work session, you had expressed some concerns to me. So I talked to him today about making a few minor changes. So if you'll remember, this area on Flat Creek School Road kind of jutted out in a weird way. You guys had a concern about that. We cut that off. And then I talked to him about this odd angle here. It just looked kind of odd. And my suggestion was that we start at the traffic circle and take that extension of 382 over to Highway 5. And he said that since that road did not exist at the time of the census, they weren't able to do that. The computer software that they used to make this map, it pre-arranges the population in small geometric shapes based on roads, water barriers, things like that. And each geometric shape, they know how many people are in it. So when I asked him to look at this area, and he clicked right here, and this is the first shape that came up. So it does kind of seal up the weird shape you guys were talking about, but it does go down to here. He tried a couple of different scenarios where he clicked over here and it added a segment that went almost down here where this connects back to Highway 5, connects to the new Highway 5. But since our main concern was this area, that this shape really kind of took the bill. Now, once he did that, that knocked things a little bit out of spec for the standard deviations that they were going to work with there. So this is our Georgia Power property on Legion Road. So he added these three geometric shapes that lead from Legion Road back to the gate of Coastal Water. And so everything, I guess, on the south side of Legion Road, starting with the Georgia Power property, is a sliver. Everything between the road and the river would be in that district. And that apparently made up the numbers. So everything is within standard deviations of, I believe, 2%, which in his opinion, he felt we could defend if we ever needed to. So do y'all have any questions? Would you back out of it so everybody can kind of see the full map again? So at this time, we have a need procedurally to either accept the map or reject the map, or if we reject the map, we can pick it up and rediscuss it next month at our next work session for approval then. So I will make a recommendation that you accept the map, draft 2, as written. And if that recommendation does not pass, then we will continue to work on the map, and I'll work with the reapportionment office to see what we can get done. So, Mr. Chairman, at this time, I make a recommendation to accept draft 2 of the map. Reapportionment.
Mike, I have a question, Mike.
Let's
Where that roundabout is, I'm sorry.
Let's get to the second.
Right.
I have a motion. Second, any discussion?
I'd like to. Where that round place is that where that new roundabout is? Is that what that is right there?
Can you pull that up again? Okay.
place is that they're talking about putting that's on the right side of the road, and that's all forestry, I think, most of it.
This is mostly woods. There's one house kind of down here. And then some RV parks is over here. I looked at it on Google Maps just to make sure that there weren't trailers and houses, but they're all around.
About 15.
Yeah, that's up that road.
I guess it's good.
That's up on one Nelly and everything goes back in that road. All right.
I've got a question. Sure. If we, you said the state didn't have that road on their map, because it's a fairly new road. My question is, how many other roads do we have that they may not have on their computers that generates maps for our district? And, you know, we really haven't been able a chance to let the local citizens weigh in on this. And I'll be honest with you, I've had this map for the last 30 minutes or, well, longer now. I received it sometime today, about 4 o'clock or 4:30. I'm against it because I haven't had a chance to study it and drive out and look at these places and make a really informed decision. I'd like to see us table this to.
Right, and as y'all know, 2 weeks ago, this was not a thing.
Right.
And now this has been basically all I've done for the past 2 weeks is deal with this. And I don't know what the rush is. I don't know why they're in such a hurry. You know, back up here. But when I did talk to them, the reason we were able to make these changes so easily is because we remind everybody in the audience that we are a residential district. So the only requirement for these districts is that the candidate live within them, because all candidates are voted on at large. Had it been districted, we would have much different experience trying to get it adjusted. But it is at the pleasure of the board.
Any other discussion? Have a motion and a second. Have a vote. Vote for. Against.
Abstain.
Motion passes. We're going to high-performing culture and workforce. In the package, you'll have the updated personnel agenda. We'll do central administration and administrator recommendations separately. You'll have 2 additions to Monday's personnel agenda for a sped paraprofessional and a day coordinator. Review those. If y'all have any questions about the personnel agenda, I recommend the board accept it as presented.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second. Second. I'll vote for. I'll vote for.
Next, we have administrative renewal. And we'll start with central administration recommendations. We'll do each one of them separately. So if I go too fast for you, we'll start with Lottie Mitchell, Assistant Superintendent. Recommend her as curriculum assistant superintendent.
I have a motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
Second.
I'll vote for. I'll vote for.
Next is Dana Berry, Assistant Superintendent of Operations, making recommendations as appointment in that school year.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second. Second. I'll vote for. Three for.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Next is Lindy Patterson, Federal Programs Director, Title IX Coordinator. Recommend her for employment.
Have a motion? Second.
Second.
I'll vote for. I'll vote for.
Next is Trina Heyland, Finance Director, recommend her for employment.
We'll make the motion.
Second.
All vote for? All vote for.
Next is John Call, Technology Director, and make a recommendation for employment.
Have a motion?
Motion.
Second? All vote for? All vote for.
Next is Patricia Parton, School Nutrition Director, and make a recommendation for employment.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Vote for? All vote for.
Next is Samantha Amos, Transportation Director, and make a recommendation for employment.
Have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All vote for? All vote for.
Next is Bob Sosby, Maintenance Director, and make a recommendation for employment.
Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All vote for? All vote for.
And finally, Kim Cagle, Testing Coordinator at 49%. Make a recommendation for employment.
Have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Vote for? All vote for.
I was about to ask you if I left it off. Okay. All right, so, and next is Jessica Chastain, Student Services Director, make a recommendation for employment.
Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All vote for? All vote for.
Next, we'll move on to campus level administrators, principals, for the academic year 22-2023. Start with Carla Foley, Principal, make a recommendation for employment.
Have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Vote for?
Abstain.
3 for, against, 1 against, 1. Joe, Michael abstain, Joe, vote against.
Next is Nicole Pike, Principal, make a recommendation for employment.
Have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All for? All for.
Next is Melinda Fonteboa, Principal.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All voting for? Head on the swivel, man.
Next is Stephanie Burnett, Principal.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All for?
And finally, we have Charles Walker, Principal, make a recommendation for employment.
Have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All voting for? All for.
All right, we'll go on to operational effectiveness. This time, Mr. Chairman, I will turn the meeting over to you to ask for a chair nomination.
All right, we got to elect the chair, next chair, and vice chair. We have a nomination for the chair.
Make a nomination for Ron Watkins.
Any other nomination? All for? All for. Now I need a nomination for vice chair.
I'll make a nomination for Doug Pritchett.
Any other nominations? All vote for? All for.
And policies, first reading December 13th, second reading January 24th. We have a need to vote on the ones for second reading. That would be policy JBCCA, student assignment to schools, policy IDFA, gender equity in sports, policy IDEA, unstructured break time, policy IFBG, internet acceptable use, policy IFBC, media programs. Is there any discussion? Not, I'll make a recommendation to accept these policies for second reading as presented.
Have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second? Second. All vote for? All vote.
Under fiscal accountability, I make a motion, I make a recommendation that accept the FY22 financial summary for November, the 2015 East Loss expenditures for January 2022, and 2020 East Loss expenditures for January 2022, as presented.
Motion,
Motion.
second,
Second.
vote for.
Okay. Finally, under superintendent's announcements, I'd like to commend Ms. Parton for providing a little snack for the board tonight. Did you tell everybody what this was?
Yes, sir, I believe I did. It's chocolate hummus.
Very good. Very good. I've never had chocolate hummus. All right, this time we can move on to the charter discussion led by Mr. Pritchett.
Okay, last month we discussed section 4, subsection C, our charter agreement, college and career academy as an essential or innovative feature. This month we will review section 17, physical control. Under physical control, we have to have an annual audit. The charter system shall be subject to an independent annual financial audit conducted by the Georgia Department of Audits and Accounts or an independent CPA licensed in Georgia as required by law. Federal monitoring requirements. Each charter system school shall comply with all federal monitoring requirements related to the receipt of federal funds. Charter school program grant funds eligibility. In the event the charter school seeks grant funds under the federal charter school program, the charter school system must satisfy all federal eligibility requirements as a prerequisite in applying for and receiving such funds. Insurance. Prior to opening, the charter school system shall secure adequate insurance coverage, and the charter system shall maintain such coverage throughout the charter term in accordance with the laws of the state of Georgia. Prior to execution of this charter, the charter system shall secure adequate insurance coverage, and the charter system shall maintain such coverage throughout the charter term in accordance with the laws of the state of Georgia. And finally, responsibility for debts. The charter system is solely responsible for all debts incurred by the charter system and its governing body. Except as agreed hereto, the state board shall not be contractually bound to the charter system or any third party with whom the charter system has a contract or from whom the charter system has purchased goods or services. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Pritchett.
These are charter agreement.
Next fall. Lottie, when's our charter really?
We're gonna start working on the process probably next spring, because we wanna do it the same year we have a cognitive review, and so we'll start working on that.
So we'll do our cognitive review and we'll start working on the charter. All right. If nothing else for Mr. Pritchett, it's time we talk about finances. We just finished our audit. We're waiting for the results and consent to go through everything. So it's good news. We have no further discussion. I recommend adjournment, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.